Chapter 3. A bit clammy about the armbands. Mr. Penguin worried about the rocking boat long after the ship had settled back down to its normal gentle bobbing. The party had ended with lots of jazzy fireworks, and everyone had trotted off to bed, excited about their first night on board and the promise of a giddy sort of day tomorrow. Mr. Penguin, Colin, Edith and Gordon's cabin was very cosy, with an enormous porthole through which the moon was dancing on the inky waves. There were 2 big bunks, fluffy pillows and even a little tuck box full of biscuits that the gang gobbled up as a midnight feast before brushing their teeth and turning off the light. All was quiet, but Mr. Penguin was wide awake. He sat up in bed feeling nervous, and because he was nervous, he felt hungry. He could open his trunk, but that would make a lot of noise, so he ferreted around in his satchel to see if by any chance there was another of those mini fish finger sandwiches that he could just have a soothing nibble on. There wasn't, and he knew it. He gobbled the last ones on the walk back to the cabin after the party, but as his flipper rummaged around in his bag, it found the 2 scraps of paper he'd shoved in there earlier. He hoiked them out and had a jolly good look at them through his magnifying glass. It was a very snazzy new one that Colin had bought him as a present, because his old one had got spoiled in an explosion up a mountain. There was just enough moonlight coming through the porthole to see them by. The words, "or else," and "help," were written, he thought, in the same handwriting, and looked to be from the same ripped-up piece of paper. Had they come from the same note? Was someone on this boat in trouble? Mr. Penguin gulped. He hoped there wasn't an adventure brewing on this ship. That, combined with being completely at sea, made him feel a bit clammy about the armbands. He turned to ask Colin what he thought about it all, but his friend was already asleep and snoring on his notepad. Double underlining meant that he was in a deep sleep. "I'll ask him in the morning," said Mr. Penguin to himself, and settled down under the covers. The gentle sounds of Edith and Colin both snoring — Gordon was a quiet sleeper, mainly because he slept inside a pillowcase with his legs in the air — mixed with the soft squeaking of his soft rubber ring around his own belly as he breathed, started to make Mr. Penguin drowsy. However, just before he nodded off, he heard something outside the cabin door. Tiptoe, tiptoe. Someone was creeping past. Then suddenly there was a little plonk sound, like the creeping person had stubbed their toe. Mr. Penguin stirred in his half-sleep. What was that? He wondered. He should go and investigate, but, well, that could be dangerous. And he knew he was as keen on danger as he was on water, so he just said, suspiciously, and settled down and forced himself to think nice, calming thoughts about fish fingers. Outside the cabin door, the tiptoer stood flattened against the wall in the shadows. Their eyes were wide, and their heart was beating fast. They hadn't stubbed a toe. They'd bashed their elbow on a doorknob, and there would be a bruise in the morning. Had the clonking noise woken the inhabitants of the cabin? After a few moments, the person in the shadows pressed their ear against Mr. Penguin's door and listened. All that could be heard from there now was snoring. Leaping lobsters, thought the mysterious tiptoer. That was close. Satisfied they weren't going to be discovered, the shadowy figure continued its suspicious journey down the moonlit deck. Tiptoe, tiptoe, tiptoe. And there he is.